from the intro.
You're now listening to Truth Talk Radio with life coach Tandy,
You
your
started it
favorite
on
level up coach, here to
YouTube?
show you that leveling up and
You sure?
overcoming is possible.
Okay. My mic is on. Hey everybody, this is Life Coach Tandy, your favorite level up coach, and this is Truth Talk Radio. And today I have a very special guest, and we're going to talk current events and we're going to talk personal development. But before we start, as you see, I'm going to do the show a little bit different today. I decided to go from 2 hours to an hour, so I won't do the whole little bit that I do in the beginning. I'm just going to have my guests come up, and we're going to start talking. We're going to get straight into this. This is going to be a really good conversation, a very interesting conversation. So come on up. Christina Britt is the CEO of Girl Genius, right? And so we're going to definitely talk about Girl Genius and the purpose of Girl Genius. It's so awesome. Like everybody knows, I love a boss chick that is out here empowering other women and empowering young women at that, right? So we're definitely going to go into a lot of detail on that. But before we get started, we're going to talk current events. So last week, right, I had Fareed Abdullah back on the show. He was actually here for a full interview the week before, and I had him back because we were talking about what happened with Mr. Floyd, right? And so before B introduced me to you, in my mind, I was like, I need a female this time on my show that we can have a candid conversation about this, right? And so it was so funny because we were on the phone and you were like, we on the phone like we old girlfriends. We were like just talking and talking. It was like midnight when we got off the phone, right? It was like midnight. But one of the reasons why I wanted to discuss it with another female is because I think as a black person, male or female, we pretty much feel the same pain and the same hurt. I do think that there's a different perspective though of everything that's going on. Not too much, because at the end of the day we're all black and we all get treated the same way, right? But it was funny because you sent me a video, right, of a conversation that you were having in a parking lot of a mall area in your neighborhood, right? And so when I listened to the video, I was like, wow, I just hung up the phone having a similar annoying conversation with another black person. That's why it was so annoying. Yes. It was very annoying, right? So in the video, tell me what you were talking about in the video.
So in the video, I was just talking about the Asian stores that were in that plaza.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about a couple things. So one was like the Asian stores in the plaza, and what happened was I saw a couple white people that came to help kind of rebuild, right?
Mm-hmm. Clean it up.
Mm-hmm. And I just was immediately like infuriated,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not because people want to clean up. For me, it was about what that really represents.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to clean up the very thing that doesn't even belong in this community. So you talk about stopping goals, things that we try to take out of our community because of the element it brings.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we want to clean up.
Right.
Real cleanup looks like shutting them down.
Right.
And so I was just immediately like infuriated, and I asked a question. So this is the part of the video that people didn't see. I asked her a question.
Mm-hmm.
I asked her, are these the type of businesses that she patronizes in her neighborhood?
Right.
And so she said, I live here. Like, I live in this community. I'm like, yeah, I hear you, but you're not a part of the community.
Right.
Because if you were a part of the community, you would know we don't want this in our community.
Right.
That's
right.
That's the difference between you and I.
Right.
This is somewhere I've lived 40 years.
Right.
You probably lived here about one.
Right.
Or two. So it's a difference, and it speaks to the difference just between you being white in this community and you being black in this community.
Right.
And so that transpired into a bunch of other
Because she didn't really answer the question. She said, "I live in the community." You asked her, "Did she eat here, or
Right.
did she
Right.
did she
First of all,
patronize
it's
this
a deli
business?"
by name only.
Okay.
It's not like a place where people go. They don't go there to get food. They go there to get liquor.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
this is why we don't want it in the neighborhood.
Right.
Because then you have people who are drunk. Then it turns into criminal behavior in some cases. Like, it's just not the element you want when you want a healthy environment.
Okay, so my whole issue, and why I agreed with what you were saying about helping them clean up or whatever, is because I don't care if it's a liquor store, I don't care if it's Chinese fast food, which is also not good for our community, and they don't take that shit nowhere else. And I'm gonna call it shit. They don't take it to any other community but to ours, and contribute to the high blood pressure, diabetes, all that, right? So the Chinese store, the Habib store, like all of those stores, right? They come set up camp in our neighborhoods. They take our money, right? They go live in the suburbs.
And they don't give anything back.
Don't give anything back. And then when you go in there, have an
They
attitude,
don't treat you right.
treat you like you're nothing, nobody. Treat you like they see other races and cultures treat us. But yet and still, they come up in our neighborhoods and set up camp and make money off of us, right?
Right. And so that was my point.
Mm-hmm.
That was the other part of my point. So this is where everybody like, oh, she was snapping, I was spazzing. Because my thing is you're helping them, but they don't ever help us, right?
Ever.
At all. And so in that particular plaza, you have like two stop and go kind of situations, a beer distributor and then this deli. Then you have a Chinese store that's famous for its chicken wings.
Okay.
And a Chinese hair store.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this, and so my other point was they don't even employ us. I mean, you're in our community. You take all of our money. You don't offer us jobs. Like, only one of them have I seen like really having an employee, and I'm like, well, what do they do? Pay her probably minimum wage? Not like she gets benefits and anything else. Like that. How am I taking care of a family off of that?
Right. And the only areas, or the only people that I've seen, the only companies that the Chinese people that I've seen employ black people or people in the community are the hair stores. That's the only time I've seen a black person working in there. But still, like you said, what are they paying them? Are they giving them benefits? All that, yeah. None of that means anything.
I would be very surprised. Like,
Me
I
too.
would love to be corrected.
Right. Me
I
too.
would love to
Me
be
too.
corrected.
Me
I'm
too.
mad at that.
Me too. Me
Show me
too.
something different, but
Right.
from what I have seen, just even historically, and like you said, going back to how you treat me, when I walk in the store, now you're talking about. So I made a comment, and it was funny because this comment got a lot of comments, because I said, you can go into the store and I'm short 5 cents, and you taking away your chicken wing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For 5 cents.
Right, because you can't afford it. But my point wasn't, so people started saying all kind of crazy stuff. Oh, she mad about 5 cents. She mad because they don't.
They didn't get the point. They didn't get the point.
Is if you were in relationship with me.
Right. 5 cents
you've been
shouldn't
in
mean
this
nothing.
community over decades now.
Right.
The reason why you're even a chain at this point is because you started here and built here.
Right.
And got all of our money.
Right.
Now you're a chain.
And see me grow up. See me grow up and can't give me 5 cents.
Unfortunately, but it is what it is. Most people are in that store more than once a week.
Definitely.
And so you're
Definitely.
going to tell me that if I don't.
That's why I said see me grow up.
If I don't have a whole gosh darn dollar, I don't care.
Right.
You should be like, and so people made comments, and these were the kind of comments that disturbed me because they were saying, well, businesses, that's our problem. Businesses don't owe us anything. As an entrepreneur, they don't have to give you anything. And I said, what business? First of all, that's the wrong mindset as an entrepreneur anyway. But what business do you go into? That doesn't have some type of loyalty program?
Right.
So when you go to Macy's gives you a discount because they want you to keep coming.
Right. They do have a loyalty program.
I've never been in a Chinese store in the hood that has a loyalty program that says, hey, you know what? We want you to keep coming back. We have a discount on our wings today.
Right.
Like, it is what it is every day, and you better turn in that money.
And so my whole thing is like you're a business. Okay. So you don't want to give 5 cents.
Right.
Okay, fine. But you know what? Don't treat me like I'm garbage.
Exactly.
Don't treat me like I'm trash or like I'm nobody. Right? Don't set up camp in my neighborhood and have the same mindset as white people and be like, well, they're trash, and that's why we're feeding them this trash, and as while I take their money, I'm going to treat them like trash, right? And so the conversation that I was having that same day, the reason why it annoyed me to the fullest, like, I was really annoyed. Like, I hung up on the person, right? Yeah, I hung up after I said some ugly things, but I hung up, right? And because the conversation it started with the person saying, we're tearing up our own communities, right? And it's going to affect the economy, which means it's then in return going to affect us, right? And so my comment was, well, when are we not affected? Even if they didn't do that, we're still affected.
That's why they're doing it, 'cause we're already affected.
Right. Like we're still affected, right? And then, like I said, if the Khabib, the Ling Ling, all of their stores, right? Yeah, Ling Ling store, Khabib store, right? Again, when they're tearing up these things, they're not tearing up our community.
Right.
They're not destroying our community when they're destroying those things, right? And so then the person had the nerves to say, well, they're oppressed as well as we are.
I'm oppressed here.
Yes, bang. After they got called a crispity crunchity coon. Okay? Bang. Right? Because when do you see a Chinese person get gunned down in the middle of the street? When? And how about you go and apply for that same loan that Chinese person did to open up that store in your community and see what happens after you apply for that loan?
I think that it's definitely.
And they come here with no credit.
Right.
They come here with no nothing, and they could get a loan. We've been here our whole lives with a house, a car, went to college, and you can go with a business plan into a bank to open up a business, and you will get denied.
Right.
And and they could come here with a paper bag.
That's the conversation that needs to be had. I think that we are easily moved to the wrong conversation, right? So we focus on the wrong thing.
Right.
So you want to spend time talking about why I said 5 cents. That's not the point of the conversation.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The point is there are certain things that should be done to show that you respect me as a person.
Exactly. Exactly.
Just respect me.
That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. But then that also goes straight to the whole conversation about why people are reacting in this way.
Right, so I wanted to say something about that, right? So I told people, I cursed a lot on that video. Like when I went back, I was like, oh my God. But because that's not my personality.
Right.
To know me, my hairdresser, I saw a comment that she put on there. She was like, I know her. She's been my client for years. I've never heard her curse before. But she's like, she must be angry. And that's the point. I am angry. And the way I share my anger
is different.
My words.
Right.
Somebody else, that same anger was in somebody else, and they went in and took things out. Right.
Right.
So it's the same anger. It's just it's shown in different ways.
Right.
So I don't. When people are like, oh, they this and they don't know what they're doing and they just tearing up our community and we're gonna be affected. The thing is, well, what is your alternative?
Right.
Because we've tried asking.
We
tried the
talking.
Route. We tried talking.
Martin Luther King tried the calm. Right. Everything. Everything.
And we're still in the same position.
Right.
So my question then is, what
do we
is
do?
your solution?
Right.
To get
to be heard.
You might not like how they did it, and everybody like nothing's gonna come out of that. The devil is a liar. So now, because of that, in the city of Philadelphia, they have now put a proposal together for police reform.
Right.
For right now, police reform.
Right.
They're asking that the mayor and the governor use their executive orders to immediately enact this proposal.
Right.
They took down the Rizzo statue, which is.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
When?
I think so. Yes.
Are you serious?
Exactly. But they would not have done that as acts.
Right.
Right?
No, they wouldn't.
How do we know? Because we've asked.
Right.
So these
but you know what though, and so this was also a part of the conversation I had with the person, and I think before I got on the phone with the person I was a little annoyed because I had a conversation with my mom and I had a conversation with my grandmother, right, in two separate occasions, right, and so my mother's 74 and my grandmother is 94, and to be reminded of how long we've been oppressed. Like my mom started talking about Martin Luther King, and then I realized that it's been 50 years, over 50 years for that time frame, right? And then I hang up, and then my grandmother calls me. She sees all this stuff going on in the news, and she calls to check on me. And then she starts talking, right? And then I hear her talk about times where she comes from the era where she had to work clean white people's house and raise their kids, right? And so she talks about a time where she worked for a white family, and she was not allowed to change her clothes in their bathroom. She had to change her clothes in their garage.
Right. So
come in the house, change clothes. 100 years. And that's just for me to see how it affected the generations I can actually see. It goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. But I'm talking about the generations that I see, right? And to feel that pain and that hurt and of being treated like an animal for so long. Well, how do you expect them to act? After you've treated a group of people like animals for decades and generations, then you don't expect them to react like an animal?
It's so funny that you say that, because even like, I had a conversation with my father, and I think I shared this, like my father was just talking about the Lizzo era, and he was just saying, growing up during that time where they would hold you down in the street. They were allowed to legally, the police were allowed to hold you down. They were allowed to turn their dogs loose on you.
Right.
Because you were black.
Right.
Not because you did something wrong.
Right, because you were black. Right.
And this is the statue that we had sit at City Hall.
Right.
Like, or across the street, whatever, downtown. Like,
right.
Right. This is what we represent. This is the representation that we want to display for the world of our city. Right. Like, that's a slap in the face.
Right.
And so those kind of things, and you want me to be okay with it.
Yeah.
So there's a constant reminder of the supremacy. There's a constant reminder of how you really think of me and how you see me, but you don't want me to respond to that.
Right.
That's a problem.
Right.
So now what you respond to is people running in stores and taking things out. Okay.
And make that the issue. Wait a minute. We're gonna talk about that when we come back. Right. We're gonna take like a 5-minute break.
Truth Talk Radio is sponsored by Champagne's 21, the best bar and restaurant located in the heart of Germantown at 21 East Shelton Avenue. If you're looking to order some of the best food in Germantown, call 215-849-7366 for orders. That's Champagne's 21 Bar and Restaurant, the best bar and restaurant in Germantown.
When she get home and get behind closed doors, man, she hit
homegirl Miss Kiki representing the DFW, and I'm shouting out the DMV.
Truth Talk Radio is sponsored by Made with Love Juicery. Made with Love Juicery has all natural raw vegan cold pressed juices, smoothies, and wellness shots, which you need right now. So go to Instagram at LoveJuice8 and get your wellness shots today.
Okay. Hey everybody, this is Life Coach Tandy, your favorite level up coach, and this is Truth Talk Radio, and I'm sitting here with Christine Britt, CEO of Girl Genius, and we were just talking about current events, and we were kind of talking about some of the things that was going on in the city, but we were originally talking about this conversation about how, you know, the how it is. There's one side that's like, yeah, tear up the city, and then there's some others that's like, we're messing up the community. And so before we went on break, we were talking about how, and I basically said this in a conversation that I was having that day, was that we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. Yeah. Nothing that we do prior to
will the masses be okay?
Yeah, like it's not, we can't win.
I think that, so I'm gonna say something different. I'm gonna say that we can win. We can
now because
we can.
Going out.
We can win. Mm-hmm. It's just about, you know, people unified. One thing that I shared earlier, I did a live earlier. We unified for the first time, probably that I can really remember, is we really showed that we were the United States of America. CNN showed yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that all 50 states had a protest around the same thing.
Yes.
That means something. That means something.
It really does.
Every single state. It really does. States that are predominantly white, states that are predominantly what, everybody had a protest about this same thing, because everybody in somewhere is fed up and tired of what we're doing.
And you know what?
As a country.
So the day I was at the next day after the video went viral, this is the conversation that I was having with my mom, and I was like, watching the video, right? I knew in my heart that this was different. This was a different time, right? It was something about the video that was even different. Mm-hmm. Like in other videos, you know, the officer might look mean and mad and look like he's struggling and like, and he's saying, stop, don't move. But this video portrayed a man being content and intent.
Pure hate.
In his moves, or the move that he was making. Mm-hmm. He showed content and he showed intent. He was content with what he was doing. He didn't care that people were recording. He didn't
that's what blew me.
He didn't move. People were yelling at him. People were yelling at him. He didn't change his demeanor. He didn't change his stance. The EMT asked him 16 times to move so that she could check his pulse. And do you see him move in that video?
Not at all.
She asked him she said, you're going to kill him. Can you please move? 16 times. She asked him 16 times. So watching the video, I was like, this is different. And then as the days kept going and going and going, I was like, this is different. Mm-hmm. This is totally different. And I feel as though that's why a change is going to come, because like you said, all 50 states, right? Everybody's standing up, not just us, other cultures, other races are standing up saying that this is wrong. And again, we've shown that I feel like by now it would have died down. We're going into day 8, right? And by now it would have died down, but it seems like it's
not, because it's not. People are so fed up.
Yeah.
This is it. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, we are so far past. This is where we're going to be until it's some real change.
I heard the expression, like when they're talking about the looting and all the violence that's going on. One, if you treat people violently, then why don't you expect violence as a reaction? Right. But it's like a drip, 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 drip in a bucket, and then the bucket overflows.
Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, why the bucket overflow? It's just dripping.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. Why would it do that? But that goes to my example of like a child having a tantrum. Mm-hmm. So a child wants to get your attention. So first they like, mom, you just like, oh, keep pushing them like, mom, and then they start pulling on you and tapping on you and mom, but you're not saying anything, right?
Right.
So eventually they go into a full-blown tantrum,
right,
because they want a reaction from you. They need something from you, right? They're looking for your attention. It doesn't matter at this point how they get it or what you're going to say. I just need you to pay me some attention. So we're at tantrum stage right now. And like I told him, I said, your president has a tantrum every day.
Every single day.
And that is excused, right? It's excused because he is a white man in power,
right,
full of privilege.
Right.
So we excuse it and we chalk it up to that's just who he is.
Right.
Why? So why do we have to accept it because it's who he is?
Right.
And I said, like, this is the same experience that I was having at my job.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Listen,
we
with my white colleague.
But wait, it was so funny because, well, it wasn't funny, but it was interesting because the day that we talked and you were like, you compared it, you was like, when I saw the video, it just took my anxiety and my feeling of overwhelmness to like a whole nother level, because you was like, I feel like it's not literal, but I felt this whole time before I decided to stay at home and not go back to work that there was a knee in my neck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was the same feeling. So watching that video for me was like watching myself.
Right.
Like, that's how I felt. Like, you're literally trying to take the life out of me. Mm-hmm. Like, you're really trying to destroy who I am as a person. Mm-hmm. And I'm not gonna cry. It's just to watch that. I really was like, this man really is trying to take my life.
Right.
Like, you just trying to take all my humanity from me.
Right.
So for you to talk to me like this, I'm a whole grown woman.
At work.
In front of people.
In front of people.
Like, the fact that you feel like you have the right
to do that. Right. Right.
We are colleagues. You're not my supervisor. Not that it would be okay if you were my supervisor, but we are colleagues. Right. Like, at what point do you have that right to treat me in that manner? And so watching that for me was very personal. Mm-hmm. And it was a very emotional moment, and still is, as I'm still dealing with this whole situation.
And this is what I also don't get from the white privileged or whatever. Like, they have not realized the mental anguish that this causes for all of us to see that. I started screaming when Fareed made me watch he made me watch it because I was refusing that day. It's like, no, I'm not gonna do it, but he made me watch it, and I was screaming like the whole time. And I was having a conversation with a white woman today, and I was like, imagine as a mother when I see this continuously. Mm-hmm. And I have a son, he's 26, and I have two grandsons, right? Mm-hmm. The 4-year-old, well, he's 5 now, but the 4-year-old, when he was 4, my son went to pick him up from school, and the teacher pulled him aside, my son aside, and said, I asked Kendall, what happens when the police is called? She's expecting him to say, go to jail. He said, you get hurt or you die. 4.
Yeah,
4 years old.
The trauma, how traumatic that is.
And so I told the white person, because again, she's like, they're looting, they're doing all of this. And so I had to explain to her. I told her about my grandmother's conversation, the decades and the generations of this pain and this hurt is the result of what you see. And how is it that we can watch this over and over and over again, right? And feel some sense of self-pride. Mm-hmm. That we're made to feel like we're nothing and nobody. Mm-hmm. And so I can definitely relate to how you felt at work, because that's the same thing. Mm-hmm. So you can yell and talk to me like that because you feel as though I'm nobody.
Right. And so now people out here taking back that power. Now they're feeling a sense of power, and that's how you can look at that and not be upset.
Yes.
So that's how when I look at it, I'm not mad.
And I said this to her and the person I was having a conversation with on the other day. I'm not gonna go and steal other people's belongings.
Right.
I'm not
gonna tell them not to either.
Yeah.
If that is the way
that's not how I show my hurt and my anger and my pain, or how I use my voice. I have a platform. Everybody doesn't have
and that's what I said. Like, I use my voice.
Yeah.
But that's me.
I have a platform. I have followers on Instagram. I have this.
Right,
like,
but people who don't know how to articulate,
like some people just don't have a platform.
They don't have a platform, or they just don't even know how to articulate it. So if I don't know how to articulate it, it still has to come out.
Right.
Definitely. So one way or the other, it still has to come out. Whether I'm fighting, whether I am, going in and taking things that are in the store. I'm struggling with saying. I'm not struggling. I'm just not saying it because I feel like. There's a side of me that is like, it's the nerve of white America to call our people looters. It's the nerve. Looters. Listen, it's the nerve of you to say I'm taking something that doesn't belong to me when that's all you do.
That's all you do.
You take opportunities that don't belong to you.
How about that?
You take jobs that don't belong to you. Right. You take the money out my pocket that doesn't belong to you. And so when I respond, don't belong to you.
How about that?
But
you take people that don't belong to you.
You take education. You take the very base of my life that does not belong to you.
Right.
And then you say to me that I'm the one looting and I'm the one stealing. No, you stole
everything you have.
Like, please, like, let's put this in perspective. Like, you continue, not you stole, you steal.
Right.
That's what you do. And so you're mad at me because I've mirrored your behavior in some kind of way.
Right. In every way. The looting, the anger, the violence. Because if that was an epitome of violence, like, again, you portrayed this violent act in front of cameras and not care, but then you don't expect people to get violent back.
Right.
Privilege.
First of all, you don't expect anything to happen.
Right. Privileged.
And the mere fact that, because I think they had another incident that was similar after Floyd's death. They had another situation, but the officers pulled that officer off of the person. So the mere fact that you would still, in light of all that is going on, all the publicity, you don't even care. Right. That proves the point. Like, this is why we are in the state that we're in, and this is why the trauma is being expressed at the level that is being expressed, because what are you doing? And then for us to be 8 days in, and from a national level, nothing has changed. Right. From a national level, you have not put forth one piece of legislation to say this is what we're going to do as a country. This is what we're going to change as a country. Because those are the things that would send everybody home, right?
Right.
But you want us to just go home. You just want governors and mayors and community people to just tell everybody, oh, just go home. Right. Why? What am I going home for?
Right.
Right. Stay home.
And so again, that's why it continues, and that's why it's even growing. Like, again, in the past, I felt like it's 8 days, it would have calmed down, the crowds would have gotten smaller, but they're actually getting freaking bigger. My son texted me right before the show started. 5 o'clock news said that they finally charged the other 3 men. But again,
what did they charge them with, though?
But this is the thing. We're 8 days in.
Right. But these are the things that you could have did day one. And you would have had a completely different response. But you take us for granted. You have gotten away with this so many times that you felt like, what's a day, 2 days, they'll get over it, it'll die down, and we can just keep it moving. Right. And so because we have had that kind of response, then your response to us is, I get to it when I get to it, if I get to it. Right. But then when we turn up our response, like turn it all the way up, then you're like, oh, wait a minute, they ain't playing out here. They for real. They on some other stuff now. Like, they don't know how to respond to this because they haven't seen this in a long time. So, like, 52, it was about 52 years, 1968, they had the, I think it's the Kerner report. And they were talking about the same things. It was the racial riots that were going on in Detroit and Newark, New Jersey. And it was for 2 weeks. These riots were, like, going. So we are entering into that space. We are in week 2 now of this, right? But they outlined in this report, because the president at the time, Lyndon Johnson, had said, okay, let me get a commission together, like a civil disorder commission, advisory commission, so that they can help figure out the hows, the whys, and the what to do next. Right. They created this whole report. It was about 16 pages. And he gave them a certain amount of months to get this together. They got it done way sooner because they said the urgency was so heavy, right? They outlined everything that they needed to do because they said that what we were heading towards was a white society, 2 societies, one white, one black. But it was avoidable, is what they said.
Right.
We can avoid all of this, right? But this is what we need to do. They had 3 main points. One of them, we need to create programming, right, to put back into these communities. We need to give them an unprecedented amount of money to fund these programs,
Right.
because we need to fix what we have broken. And so, and they just keeps outlining things. I was like, well, this is today. We still talking.
And they
We
didn't
still
do
having
anything.
we still having the same conversation, requiring the same needs.
Right.
In 2020 that
Right.
they asked for in
In
1968, and so now you mad that people are having tantrums out here because
crazy.
for 52 years you had an answer and you just refuse to do it. Yeah, no, I'm cool on it.
We still never got the 40 acres.
Listen, so we are so used to your response being okay and never doing it, right? So
And then we go on about our
right, and then we go on about our business because we got a new situation now. So now we're looking at the new situation. We're distracted because you got us over here now because you did something else.
Right.
So we don't ever get back to the you still owe me 40 acres.
Right.
Right. You still owe me 40 acres. You owe me all those things that you said you were going to do in this commission. You owe me this. You owe me that. But you call me the thief.
Right. Isn't that crazy? That
You call me the
amazes
liar.
That amazes me. That amazes me. And so me and B had this conversation again when they were talking about tearing up everything, and so this is going on all across the world now. It's not just happening in the United States, but the United States, because we were brought here, right, to the United States. And so they're talking about tearing everything up and all this kind of stuff. And I'm
Tear
like,
it up.
Well, we want to know what we built it.
Exactly. First of all, we built it for you.
Right. That's my whole point. Like this country was built on the backs of us, the sweat, blood, and tears from our ancestors. And again, you bring us here to build your country, treat us like crap, and then act like you don't want us here. Well, you could have left us in a place where we were kings.
Or
and
tell us
queens.
to get back on the boat. You could have had the boat ready, put us on there, take me back home. Because if you don't want me here, I don't ever want to be at a place that you don't want me to be in.
Again,
I didn't ask.
They took us from a place where we were kings and queens.
Right.
You could have left me there.
Exactly.
You could have left me there.
I didn't ask.
Yeah. You could
And
have
so
left me there.
this whole idea of people don't owe you anything. No, I'm owed something.
Right.
You know what I mean? I am owed something. One, I'm owed the very right to be treated like a human.
How about that?
I am owed that.
How about
So
that?
don't tell me what I'm not owed.
Okay.
I am definitely owed that. I am a whole child of God. I am owed
I
that.
know that's
That
right.
is mine for the taking.
Right.
I don't have to ask for that.
Right.
And you will give me that.
I know that's
and
right.
And we are in a society where it says it's okay for some to have that right,
Right.
and
And
others
others
not to. Why? Were you not birthed the same way I was?
Right.
Did
Right.
the sperm not make you in the same way that it made me? Like,
Right.
please explain to me what the difference is.
Right.
So this whole idea of what we're not, that brainwashing mentality of what we're not owed, and the white people don't owe us anything. I don't know where you got that from.
Well, this is my thing. This is like what I concluded after my conversation with that person was that it is going to be one of our biggest challenges is going to be
ourselves.
Ourselves and breaking slave mentality.
Yep.
That is going to be one of the biggest things for us. And I get it. It runs deep in us because we've endured generations and generations of slavery and, unjust. All of these things are still embedded in us, right? And so it's so funny that they use tactics, and they've done this even during slavery, to keep us divided. They stick together, right, wrong, and indifferent.
Exactly.
They stick together, but you'll see a black person on TV talking about tear it down, and then you'll see another black person, oh no, don't do that to the community. Like we
what are you going to do the thing is, so they are doing that to the community, but what are you doing for the community?
Right.
So you sitting in the house talking about what they shouldn't do,
Right.
is not
That's the same
changing
thing I
anything
said-
either.
That's the same thing I said to that person too.
So to your point about what is embedded in us as it relates to like the slave mentality, the slave master mentality is embedded in them.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
you're still carrying out the things that your ancestors put in you.
Right.
So this is
Right.
why you feel like you have the
Can do
right,
that.
like you have ownership over me.
Right.
And you don't even know me.
Right.
But you feel like you have ownership rights over me because that's embedded in who you are.
That's true.
You know, and that is what it is.
That's
And so, like, I have an uncle who is white. Obviously, that was my marriage. But we were having a conversation today, and I love him to pieces, and he is so real to who he is, right? And I appreciate that about him. But we were having a conversation, and he was saying how he was looking at the video, but didn't want to watch the video. Like, he turned away from watching the whole video, and then he had to go back and force himself to, because he in his mind said that he turned away out of his privilege. And I had to tell him, like, no, you turned away out of your humanity.
Right.
So though I may say white America and black America, I tell people, if it don't apply to you, then don't listen.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not for everybody.
Right.
But if you are human, in your humanness, you're never going to want to see somebody murdered.
Right. Right.
You know, for absolutely no reason.
Right. Right.
That's not that is not your privilege. That is your humanity.
Right.
And we have to be able to distinguish that. But I told him your privilege is relevant. You're not always aware of it, and that's not even your fault.
Right.
The system is designed so you don't have to be aware of it.
Right. That's true.
But it's designed so I have to be.
Right. So, you know, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to just switch it to, because I want
Girl Genius.
Yeah, I definitely want us to be able to talk about Girl Genius. But I am going to invite you back because I want us to get to a point where we're talking about action. Like, I'm a big
I got actions.
Take action. You know, I'm a life coach, so take action.
We want to
I
take
want to
action
know
time.
where we can start. Like, I want to come back and have a whole different conversation about where we can start to change all the things that we talked about: slave mentality, you know, getting legislation and all that. Like, I'm gonna bring you back so that we can talk
Please,
about that.
because we definitely have a plan.
Yep. So we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna start talking about Girl Genius.
Awesome.
Truth Talk Radio is sponsored by Get Booked for the Look Hair Salon and Diamonds Cosmetics. If you're looking for flawless hair and flawless makeup, go get booked for the look. You can find Diamonds Luxury Hair Extensions and Diamonds Cosmetics at getbookedforthelook.com. You can also follow Get Booked for the Look on Instagram at Siren85.
Any other day, I wouldn't have dealt with this situation this way. There were a lot of things I wanted to say, but I thought about what would have happened if I let you get the best of me. No way. And now I can truly say I was a bird on the ground. Yes, I was. Legs to get around. I was a piano out of tune, but I've been turning around. Tell you how I know places I used to go. Even go no more, 'cause I can fly now. And the song I play lets me know I changed. Never mind what you heard. I'm not the same. Somewhere, somehow, some way I reverse the way I do things. I know it ain't worth all the talk of worry to prove I'm stronger. I no longer stay to play and lose. Now I am proud to say it's true. Using my legs to get around. Yes, I was. Straight up black I've been changed. I've been changed. All the things I used to do, I don't do no more. I'm glad I've changed. I don't go no more. I'm moving on. I'ma do it without any
Truth Talk Radio is sponsored by Virtual Sisters LLC. Virtual Sisters provides virtual administrative management and takes care of those pesky admin needs that you may not want to be bothered with while running your small business. They will customize admin packages to suit your needs. For royal services for your admin needs, go to IG at virtual_sisters LLC or call them at 727-301-2183. Truth Talk Radio is sponsored by Get Booked for the Look Hair Salon and Diamonds Cosmetics. If you're looking for flawless hair and flawless makeup, go get booked for the look. You can find Diamonds Luxury Hair Extensions and Diamonds Cosmetics at getbookedforthelook.com. You can also follow Get Booked for the Look on Instagram at Siren85.
Hey everybody, this is Life Coach Tandy, your favorite level up coach, and this is Truth Talk Radio, and I'm back. We're here with Kristen, Britt, and we trying our best to talk about Girl Genius.
We might come back for Girl Genius.
We're gonna talk about it before we leave though.
Okay.
But her business partner is here as well, and he brought up a very good point that I think that we should touch on really, really quick. And because when we went on break, I was talking about how the part of this snowballs because not only do they not do something about it, but then they try to play us. So in the autopsy report, they put out some nonsense saying that it was not asphyxiation.
Basically trying to say it was natural causes. It was underlying issues.
Underlying issues. They said that he had heart disease, so it was something wrong with his heart and
he
all
just
this
magically
other stuff.
died on that day.
Right. So when they did the independent autopsy, it did come back that it was asphyxiation and his lungs collapsed from the second knee that was in the back, right? And so the point was made that part of this took place because of resources. George Floyd's friend was an ex
basketball player?
Basketball player, I don't know, basketball player, football player, I think it was basketball. So the family somehow had the resources to get the independent autopsy. And in other cases, this may not be affordable for other families, right? And so your business partner was saying that we need to make sure that the resources are there just in case the family doesn't have, the resources should be available so that we can take these other options when we're given the bull crap. Right?
But so that goes to your point that before break about solutions, right? So you talk about having bail funds to be able to bail people out of jail so they're not just sitting in jail for a year, 2 years just because they can't afford a couple $1,000 bail.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or don't have somebody who has property that they even want to put a lien on. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And so you have those issues. Then you have this autopsy. So we need to create an autopsy fund.
Right.
So that with our own independent medical examiners to be able to give us non-biased, non-influenced by you can't be bought over here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Type of autopsies.
I'm gonna give the truth. Yeah.
Like, and that's just going to be that. And so like things like that. And then we are working on in Philadelphia. We here, my business partner and I, we're working on a voting block.
Okay.
And so that this will allow us one of the biggest issues around this whole how we responded is because we don't have any leadership.
Right.
So since Malcolm and Martin, that's been it. Like Malcolm Martin, and that's it. We have not had a unified voice that everyone respected.
Right.
And so we don't have an agenda. We don't have like a black agenda. So we don't know. People are like, oh, we'll go vote. People are hardcore. I'm a whole committee person, right? I'm an elected official in that capacity, and people are like, go vote. And my response to that this time around was, I'm not pushing that. And I said I wasn't pushing it because people did die. Yes, I get it. People died so that we could have the right to vote. But they died and they fought so I could have the right to vote, have an educated vote.
Right.
So me just telling people to go vote and they have absolutely no idea who they're voting for, what the position even means or does.
It's useless.
You might keep that. Just stay home.
Yeah,
we're gonna work on you for next time.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather do that and get in a place so we have something called Vote for What that we'll be pushing out heavy this summer to get people prepared for the general election, along with this agenda that we have and this voters box.
So an agenda is definitely needed.
Yes.
A leader and an agenda. Like you're right. Like that is the first step to the action plan that we need to come up with is a unified, we all need to agree on this leader and respect the leader and stand behind the leader 125% and come up with
the agenda. What is the agenda? What is our ask? Because at the end of the day, yes, we've done all of this. Now we got the attention, but what are we asking for?
Right.
So people are like, oh, we want these charges. Okay, and so when they do charge them, is that all we want?
No.
Is that where it stops? Like we're doing all of this just so they can not to diminish that.
Right.
But that is not enough.
Right. And so that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So charges are needed, but then again, we need to
ensure it doesn't happen again.
Yes. That's
because
what I was gonna go to.
people have been charged before, and it still happens.
Right.
We want
it to stop. We want it to stop.
It has to end now. So the things that we are talking about doing is creating space so that it stops now. So if we have a voters block, then we are collectively coming together and saying these are the candidates that we're supporting,
and this is
what it looks like. So
who they are.
What I told people, generally what happens with an election is that when somebody is running, they prepare their own agenda and they push it on us,
right?
But we never give them an agenda back to hold them accountable to.
And hold them accountable for what we want.
Exactly, and that is the point.
We want to take place in
that's
our
the
community.
point. So we're not holding them accountable, and because there's no accountability, and because it's their agenda in the first place, that means if it's my agenda, and I had this discussion about business. So we have a for-profit and a non-profit, and I've been the heart and focus of our for-profit. So he like, this part is your baby. This is your thing. So if you wanted to be a babysitter's club tomorrow, then it's going to be a babysitter's club tomorrow because it's birthed from you.
Right.
So if the agenda is birthed from the politician versus being birthed from the people, then when the politician says, you know what, I know what I told them, but this is how I'm feeling today.
Right.
This
they're gonna do what they want. What they want.
I do what I want to do.
It's always been. That's
but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
so people are like, oh, it's just inevitable. It's just gonna be this way.
So we do have to. We do
have to. I'm trying to tell you.
Like we do definitely have to like switch it up. Right.
Yes.
We have to. We have to
take some steps.
Yes. We have to take some steps to switch it up.
Yes.
Right.
For sure.
But before we go, right. We're probably going to go a little bit past 7, but before we go, I do definitely want to talk about Girl Genius. Like, I think this is so awesome, like the whole conversation that we talked about. So as quick as you can, right? I want you to tell me, I want to talk about your plan for Girl Genius, like, getting it started and adding in what we talked about, how you want to get female entrepreneurs ready, and then also have a stream of income, which is so important. That's what makes it so hard about becoming an entrepreneur and doing it full time.
Right.
Is figuring out how to have another stream of income while you're getting that business.
Right, and then not be your job.
Right, exactly.
So I'm the queen of quit your job. Like right. that's my whole thing. Like I don't ever want to work for another person another day in my life like that. I don't want that. I don't like that idea. However, I know that's not everybody's reality. Mm-hmm. So I created Girl Genius out of a place of just need, and I know that I am not alone in this space, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, when I started thinking about, well, who is my tribe? Who are my people? Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't want to be a girl boss. I don't want to be a lady this and chick that. Like I wanted to be. I was like, I'm a genius. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a whole genius. I was like, I'm gonna be a girl genius.
Okay.
And for me, and I was explaining this to my daughter, being a girl genius for me meant there was a time when I was a child and I knew exactly what I wanted to be, right? I knew who I was. I knew I didn't want to go work for somebody. I might not have been able to put my finger on the thing, but I knew that it was outside of a box.
Right.
But I also realized the older I got, I started off probably standing on a box that had no walls. But then the walls started coming up. And every year you go from, hey, you can be whatever you want in kindergarten,
Right.
to in the 5th grade you need to start kind of identifying what that looks like. And then by 11th grade you got to make some decisions because you're getting ready to go to college. Like, what are you going to do? And now this box has gotten like this. And my options are really small right now. And I'm expected at 18 to know exactly who I want to be for the next 60 years of my life. The devil is a liar. That doesn't even make sense.
Right.
So the freedom of being a girl genius is about going back to that place where I was free to imagine, I was free to create, I was free to change my mind, and I want to empower women to be in that space,
Right.
to own that space. That's your God-given space, because in that space, that's where your purpose lies.
Right.
And then how do I monetize that? How do I free myself to be in that space and then make money off of it?
Right.
And not just like a little bit of money, like life-changing money.
Right.
Because who says I gotta be broke?
Right.
You know, people say, oh, you know, I don't do entrepreneurship because I gotta, you know, I need the security of a job. The devil's a liar. Where is the security in a
Listen,
job?
well,
you woke up and COVID was here and you had no job.
When I left my job, right, when I resigned from my position, that's exactly what I said. I said this was a false sense of security.
It's a false sense of security.
A false sense of security.
You make plans and you say, you know what, I'm going to be at this job for 5 years. And then COVID shows up 2 years in and they're like, we're going to have to lay some people off and you're first.
Right.
You sure can. Maybe not.
Wait, hold on. We don't have that much time. No, we don't. Okay, what were you saying?
So you show up again. You don't have a job. So that's why I put in that space, and I really just decided that, you know, I need to help women be able to be in a space to make real decisions.
Right.
You know what I mean? For their own life. Have real choices. And so that's where that was born from.
Because that was one of the things that we talked about.
Right.
I was like, on this journey, I have felt so alone.
Because entrepreneurship is lonely.
It is. It's lonely, and it's like you're surrounded by people that support you, and you're surrounded by people. But if they are not familiar with the journey and the road of being an entrepreneur,
it still feels like you're by yourself. Oh my
God, I was like, and that's why I felt like what you were doing was so awesome, because it brings support in so many different dynamics.
Right. And so that's the thing. Like, I wanted to bring the women together. And so it was birthed out of this idea. Well, I went to a conference. I was sharing with you. I went to a conference and I didn't see us represented.
Yes.
And so I went to this conference and I'm like, they're literally giving away hundreds of awards because people made $1 million in this one particular thing. And I'm like, so these are like millionaires here, right? But out of that, it was like 100. Out of this 100 something, I saw about 5
black women.
5 people of color. 3 might have been men. No black women at all.
Okay.
And I said, the devil's a liar. I will be here next year, but I don't want to be by myself. And so I need to create a space where we as women can be who God called us to be. So the goal with Girl Genius is to help 100 women in the next 2 years become millionaires, to scale their businesses.
Because I said I was going to be on that stage.
Yes, listen.
I said, I need you to visualize.
And I said, come on.
Yeah, I'm going to be on that stage with you.
And that's what
you don't want to go
I visualize
to accompany you.
Please, I'm looking for women who want to accompany me, right? Because people say that, but they don't mean that.
Yeah.
And that's why
the work.
Exactly. And that's why personal development is such a big part of what I do. So Girl Genius is a part of Inspire Me to Change, which is my bigger baby. But that's why. Because that personal development piece, that's where when we talk about mindsets and changing, that's where it changes.
Right.
So I need women to believe in themselves enough to know that I am not only capable, but I'm worthy.
Right. Definitely.
I'm worthy.
Because
this is mine.
But as black women, it's so hard. It's so hard to feel worthy of certain things.
When you live in a country that tells you that you're not.
Exactly.
But this is why we create smaller communities that remind you that you are.
Yes, definitely.
So that's what
I feel like
we
definitely need that, and we definitely need to start with, young women, because I agree with you as well too. It's like you you're young and you have these visions, but then there's somebody telling you you need to go to college, or you can't do this, or you're only supposed to be doing this. Like we're told so many.
Like, who
different
told you
things.
that?
Right.
And I have to tell people, like, and I think we were talking, like, God gave me a vision. I can't expect everybody else to see it, because we talk about the validation that we look for from other people.
Yes.
You know, we look for it because somebody has always been telling us who we are.
Right.
So now that I'm going against that grain, and I'm telling myself,
I need to be validated.
now I'm looking for somebody to tell me that this is right, because everybody told me I was that.
Right.
But when I started to get in touch with my relationship with God, then God showed me I was this.
Right.
But now no one is validating that.
Right.
And so you have to get at a place where you're comfortable enough
Right.
to understand that what God has given you, it might not be validated by other people right away.
Right.
It might never be validated by some people.
Right.
But it's not for them.
Right.
You know, God gave it to you to give to others. And it's a group waiting for you. And that's why I say about, like, my why. Like, my why is so much bigger than me. Like, why Girl Genius has to do what God showed me is because I'm like, if you talk about 100 millionaires, female black millionaires, you're talking about 100 families.
Right. Wow. Right.
These are
Their lives are being
100
changed.
different generations
Right.
on this stage.
And then think about their families, and then how their thought processes.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, it's generations that will be impacted by me touching these women.
Right.
So I can't sleep. So I say, you know, I stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll turn around and I get back up at 5. Not because I don't respect rest, but it's because who has time for rest? Like, these women are waiting on me.
Right.
And because I know my journey, I've wasted, and I don't want to say wasted, but it took me a long time to get here.
That was your preparation, though.
That was my preparation. It could have went faster, though.
Don't look at it as wasted.
But that's why I said I'm
The
going to take back
things-
wasted.
The things that you
It was purpose.
the things
but
that you went through had to get you to this.
I
this point
need.
right here. Yeah. So
But
what-
the idea, so this is where mentor becomes important. So when you talk about Girl Genius, we want to kind of mentor in this is all built in, whether it's peer mentor, whatever it is, mentorship, because I don't want what took me 20 years to figure out to take you 20 years.
Right.
So it took me 20 so that it can take you 2.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're going to grind hard for 2 years.
Well, I'm very excited about it. I am
am too.
very excited. I'm very excited about being on that stage.
Yes, let's get
As
it.
one of the 100 women
Yes.
that made $1 million that
Yes.
year. Yeah. We gonna give it 2 years. We're gonna be there in 2 years. Next year?
Yeah.
We're gonna be there next year.
Next
Okay,
year,
we're gonna be
yeah.
there next year.
Because I
All
tell
right,
people,
next
like,
year. Okay.
because this is my thing. If you're going to say it, just say it all.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, like,
Yeah.
I don't think small anymore. So I said by the end of this year, my goal for the end of this year was to see at least 1.5 million plus. That's my goal. And so if you look at what's going on with me financially yesterday, you might be like, hey, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not.
But the idea is, I don't care if there's 6 months left. If it takes me to December 31st
Because
at
you said that-
11:59, that I get the deal that takes me over it,
Right.
I just gotta get there.
And then who's to say that it could happen tomorrow?
Exactly. So it can
Right.
happen tomorrow,
As
or it
long
can
as
happen
you
6 months
envision
from
it.
now.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen because I'm going to manifest the thing that I'm speaking, and I see,
Right.
and I can feel it. Like, I see that stage clear as day with those 100 women.
Right.
I see that the same way I see that those millions of dollars in my account. I
Right.
see it.
Right.
So we get caught up in time. We get caught up. God is not a God of time.
Not at all.
What he can do, what you think will take 10 years, God can do in 10 seconds.
That's facts.
So if I could go home right now, you know, I'm trending, baby, right now on Instagram. Got almost 100,000 views. And so for that example alone, yesterday, so today I have almost 100,000 views off this one video.
Right.
2 days ago, the most views I ever had was like 120.
Right.
120 total.
Right.
Now you have 100,000. So I went from a space of people not knowing who I am to now being on this platform. They're trying to figure out who I am.
Right.
And that happened literally overnight.
Right.
and not because of something I even intended to do. So my plan is not God's plan.
Right.
His ways are not my ways.
Right.
And so when he decides this is how I want to do it,
then that's what's
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
We sat here and we were like tripping over how we going to do this voting block and how we going to get these policies together around police reform. And so we going hard and we looking up all these different things and we started to write it out. And then we had this prayer thing and then people didn't respond in the way we wanted, but we prayed. Before the end of the night came, we saw the stuff about the proposal done. Every single thing that we said we want to do and
done.
then some,
Right.
it was done. We talked about the voting block. Before the end of the night, he's on the phone with somebody who says, oh, that's what I do.
Right. Yeah, it's all
His
in
ways, not my
order.
ways.
Yeah. It's
You know
all
what I
in
mean?
his
But we
order.
had to get to a space where we submit and surrender to that.
Definitely.
And that's where I am now. It's like, okay, God, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, I'm okay with.
Yeah.
It might feel funny, look funny, might not even sound right, you know, especially if I start talking to people who are not in that same mindset. And this is why the community is important.
Right.
Because I need to be around people who are going to be like, that's all, God, girl.
Yeah.
You be all right.
Yeah.
You be okay. It look crazy now.
We talked about that on the phone. Like, we talked about how important that support is.
It
So
is.
Even if it doesn't look right or sound right, just be like, girl, yeah, God got that. He gonna do it. He gonna
listen,
make it
you
happen.
don't even know. And,
Yep.
and perspective is everything. And God dealt with me heavy this year on perception and my perspective on things. And my girlfriend said to me last night, she said, you know, 2020, I just want to throw 2020 in the trash. Like, I can't wait till 2021. And that's the conversation
said
for
the
most
same
people.
thing.
Right, listen, I've said that too. However, yesterday when she said that, I was like, you know what? I don't want to throw 2020. Like, I'm excited about 2020. And people are like, well, how could you be excited about 2020 in the midst of, you know, COVID-19, in the midst of riots and racial issues?
Well, you know, one thing that I do know is that your purpose and your most exciting moments come from your pain.
It does, but
And
this
the
is
things
the
that
thing.
you've gone through.
It wasn't even necessarily, 2020 hasn't necessarily been painful. Has some painful things happened?
Right.
Yes. But 2020 for me, I realized, and I said this going into the shutdown, this is going to be about who I want to become when this is all
over.
said and done.
I said the
I
same
became
thing.
the best version of myself that I've ever seen.
Right.
So no, 2020, I don't want 2020 to go in the trash.
Right.
Because 2020 proved to me who I really am. It showed me things that had I not been in these kind of situations, I wouldn't have seen in myself.
And that's so funny because that's kind of what happened with me as far as my business and being a life coach. It's like during this whole epidemic, this whole pandemic, I turned into the best.
That's you.
Yeah, like it,
And that
really
has
focused
value.
on me.
But
really
listen,
focused on
so
me.
that has value. So when we say we want to throw away 2020, we want it to
like-
be over. It's to dismiss the value that came out of 2020.
Yeah.
That was valuable.
Yeah.
That's what you needed.
Very. I'm still sick of 2020. There's too much going on in 2020.
It's a lot going on, but we're here.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. It's too much. So it was so awesome. This conversation was awesome, and I am so serious. Like, I'm definitely gonna have you.
I'm
back.
on it. I'm ready.
Definitely gonna have you back, and hopefully, when I do have you back, we will have
Yes.
Girl Genius
Yes.
on that road.
Yes, yes.
And we'll be on that road to being on that stage.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So, thank you, everybody. I know
Thank
it's
you.
a little weird for me going from 6 to 7 instead of 8. Oh, yes. We tell everybody where we can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm either at Inspire Me, the number 2C, or at I'm a Girl Genius. I am a Girl Genius. And, I am and then Girl Genius. And where else can you find me? Facebook, I am the same thing. So I have the same tags on Facebook. And my name, Kirsten Britt. KIRSTENBRITT, and I think that's it.
Okay.
I said inspire me to change. Oh, inspire me to change.com.
Okay, you got it.
That's
Okay.
That's why you keep a business partner.
Right. Exactly. They come in handy.
They
right?
do.
So this was awesome. And I know it's a little weird for me going, I was from 6 to 8.
I see.
And
She
switch
want to
it
get
up.
short when it's me.
6 to 7. Like I had to switch it up.
When I come on now, she want to switch it up. It's
I'm
okay.
sorry,
It's
but you're
okay.
coming back. Like,
Okay, all right. As long as I come back.
So thank you everybody for tuning in to Truth Talk. This is Life Coach Tandy, your favorite level up coach. Good night.
Good night.
That was Truth Talk Radio with life coach Tandy. If you need help leveling up, find me at mylifecoachtandy.com or hit me up on Instagram at lifecoachtandy.